This is Danny Gould with the Selling Silicon Valley Group. Welcome everyone to another Silicon Valley market snapshot for the 5th week in March of 2020. I'm shooting this on April Fool's Day, but it's technically the 5th week of March. I want to start off with some great news though. The great news is, guys, is that I'm feeling healthy and my family's feeling healthy and everyone that I care about is still doing well. And that to me is the most important thing. And I pray that all of you out there are staying healthy and safe as well through all of this. And I know that we're all going to get out of this. We're all going to come out of this much stronger. And another piece of really great news for Silicon Valley homeowners and buyers and people that are looking to continue with some sense of normalcy through all this and actually make their Silicon Valley housing dreams come true is that this last weekend, CISA, which is basically what Governor Gavin Newsom used to create his guidelines for essential businesses, updated their guidelines for essential businesses to include residential real estate services. However, the County of Santa Clara overrides anything that happens at the state or the federal level. And so just yesterday, in fact, the County of Santa Clara, in fact, all 6 Bay Area counties, has now deemed residential real estate to be an essential business, and we are now not fully up and running, but we now have the ability to do a few things that we weren't able to do before. So for the last 2 weeks, no home showings could legally take place. Now home showings are legal. However, there must be no more than 2 guests plus the agent showing the house, and the property must be vacant. No open houses, and we still want to maintain social distancing guidelines, but this is huge news. This is amazing news for any buyer that wants to go see a property right now that they're very interested in. And of course, we want to make the caveat qualified buyers, because right now the vetting that is going on before a buyer enters the home has got to be astronomically higher than it was before. And so still no open houses, public open houses, but there are virtual open houses being done as well. So there are things being done right now at the government level where we can to help stimulate this economy, because there are still buyers and sellers out there that want to buy and sell. I'm working with many of them. I have 6 signed listing agreements right now, and the sellers want to sell. So we're going to be putting those listings on in the market now that we have that ability to facilitate those showings, given the guidelines and everything. So I'm very excited for us to regain just a little sense of normalcy through all of this. However, there are, I'm sure, many questions right now that are swirling through Silicon Valley home buyers and sellers' heads, and I want to assuage some of those concerns heading into the next 2 or 3 months here. But what I want to focus on first is the home buyer here in Silicon Valley that's looking at the current landscape of the market, that's looking at what's going on in our economy and is thinking to themselves, is now really the right time to buy? And the question that I always follow up with is, is it a good time to buy an investment property, or is it a good time to buy a personal residence, right? Because if you're an investor or you're looking for something to live in, 2 very different things. I think we've all learned over the last couple of weeks that it really pays to love where you live. And that lesson is becoming very, I would say, relevant in this time. And so if you're a home buyer right now and you're out there and you're looking and you see something online that you really love, you should really consider making a move on it, because not just for the sake of having, being able to shelter in place where you love. But let's look at some facts. Number one, interest rates are exceptionally low right now, much lower than they were at this time last year. Also keep in mind that when we go out in this current landscape, there might be a lot of uncertainty, but there is almost nothing more certain than real estate, right? I know that a lot of buyers right now, the trepidation is, am I going to overpay? Is the market going to correct? And the short answer is, I don't know. right? When we look outside and I look at transactions that are going on right now, I mean, I've heard of agents putting homes into contract right now, listing agents in Santa Clara County. I've seen dozens of accounts right now of testimonials online where agents are saying, still got 8 offers on my listing. No showings took place, and I still got 8 offers, and it sold for way over asking. So to me, what that tells me is that the market is still going strong. Will that change at some point in the future? I don't know. If you're a buyer that's willing to wait on the sidelines to see if and when that happens, mazel tov. This market's not for you anyways, because the truth is that there's limited inventory to begin with, because sellers are hesitant to put their home on the market, right? Another thing to keep in mind too is that loan products have definitely tightened up in the last couple of weeks. When we look at the landscape right now, I believe I mentioned this in the previous video that I made, is that non-QM lenders are now pulling out of the market. And so this represents a sizable portion of the mortgage applications and the mortgage and the borrowers and the buyers that are currently buying in today's Silicon Valley landscape. So if you're a home buyer and you still qualify for a loan, despite all the coronavirus stuff that's going on right now, then that should be great news for you, because it means that a good subset of your competition is now, for the foreseeable future, not going to qualify for a loan, right? And for home sellers, that should definitely be not cause for concern, but something to be aware of, is that a subset of the buyers that would originally have made offers on your homes are not going to be able to qualify for loans for the time being, right? And that being said, if the buyer is properly vetted from the get-go, and you do your due diligence as a home seller before you enter contract, there is no reason why the buyer should still fall out of contract at this point. I think the wonky period here was the last 2 or 3 weeks where lenders were pulling out of the market, and some buyers were being left hung out to dry in the middle of their escrow process. That happened, and in fact, it's a problem, right? And it's become a problem for many buyers out there. But now that those lenders have completely disappeared, there are some lenders that are just closing up shop altogether, right? And so and that's something to be aware of as well. But the conventional lenders, the ones that are out there that are lending through Fannie, Freddie guidelines, all those lenders, they're still out there. So there's still plenty of opportunity for home buyers to go out there, to get approved, to qualify for a mortgage, to buy a house. Those things will still happen. And so from a home seller's perspective, however, I know that many sellers, and I anticipate many sellers, are going to be hesitant to dip their toe back into the water, much more so than buyers, because buyers right now, let's face it, you have nothing better to do than sit on the couch all day and look at houses, right? And then and let's not kid ourselves that those moments when you're sitting there, hey honey, what if we had this and this and this, and oh man, wouldn't it be great? And oh, let's crunch some numbers here online. And by the way, if you're having any of those conversations, make sure that you reach out to me, because I can help you run those numbers. I can help put you in touch with someone that's gonna help you make a much more educated decision for yourselves. But if you're sitting on the couch and you're having those conversations, yeah, that's great. But then if you're a home seller and you're sitting there and you're making the mistake of ingesting news right now, which is a huge mistake. I think anyone that's watching the news right now is doing themselves a great disservice, because there's nothing but fear mongers on the news, right? And they're paid to make. They literally make money off of instilling fear in you. They thrive off of the fear. And so just keep that in mind, folks. Don't pay attention to that. But if you are, and I think there are a lot of Silicon Valley home sellers that are sitting here right now on their couch, and they're looking at that news, and all they're doing all day is sitting there ingesting the fear, and that could put some thoughts in their head. Well, maybe now's not the right time to sell, right? Maybe we should wait until the dust settles, right? And I've made the prediction before that I do feel like at some point in time, all of the pent-up inventory, all of the suppressed inventory will eventually hit the market that could cause a surge in supply here in Silicon Valley. But for the time being, if you're a home seller now that shelter in place is still in place for the time being, that's the unfortunate news. The good news is that a ready, able, and serious buyer can now come to your house, right? My team, we're now COVID equipped. We're now COVID prepped. So all of our listings are we have masks, we have the gloves, and the buyers got to go in there. They got to put their masks, the gloves on. They got to do all of that. They got to socially. They got to do all of the social distancing things. They have to abide by all the guidelines, health guidelines, in order to gain access to the house. And then before that, all the vetting that gets done up front, all the virtual showing technologies that we currently have, Matterport, which is a 3D dollhouse rendering of the home. They can walk through the house. So if they're coming into the home, it's because they really like it, and it's because they're super serious about it. And that should be great news for home sellers, because while we will get less showings during this period, the showings that we do get are going to be incredibly more serious. And there are buyers out there, they do have time to go out and look at houses, right? They do have time to explore houses. They certainly have, if they qualify for financing, the opportunity to buy at an incredibly low rate. And the best news for you, if you're a home seller here in Silicon Valley, is that your competition is exceptionally low for this time of year. Every area in Silicon Valley, we are down year over year in every single area in terms of active inventory. That being said, we're also down year over year in terms of pendings. Not necessarily in terms of sales, but in terms of pendings, we are also down. And so what will be interesting to see is how all of this plays out over the next several months. But to me, and in the last video, if you've been watching these videos, you'll know that I said after shelter in place is removed, that is the opportunity for home sellers to act. I take that statement back. Now is the opportunity for sellers to act, because while shelter in place is still in effect, we are now considered essential, which means that you have the opportunity right now, while every seller in Silicon Valley is thinking to themselves, maybe I should wait 6 months and see how all this plays out, and there's incredibly low inventory levels. Now is the time to capitalize on it and seize the moment. From a seller's perspective, there's a limited window of time. I think from a buyer's perspective, you have a little bit more time, right? I think you have the ability to survey the market and make the decision that's best for you and for your family. But my advice stays true regardless, is that when you find the home that you love, why not make an offer on it? I mean, what's the harm in making an offer? And so that's the advice I'm giving to both sides of the coin. Sellers, I hate to break it to you, but the reality is that the peak has passed, right? And so putting your home on the market now is an attempt or an exercise in saving the equity or preserving the most amount of equity that you have in the property possible. Because every month or 2 months that goes by that you're not making that decision for yourself, you're actively making a decision to let some of your equity go. I do believe that we are in a fluctuating market right now, where over the next 12 months we will see losses, right? We will see diminishes. We will see a diminishing schedule of appreciation, right? Now, whether or not that turns negative, right, whether or not we see a depreciation, that remains to be seen. But the appreciation we capture at this point will be nominal, and over the next year to 2 years, and that is looking at it from an annual perspective. From a month-to-month perspective, there will be dips, there will be valleys, there will be slight rises, there will be slight falls. And so the seasonality effect of the Silicon Valley market, if you've been watching these videos, you know I talk about it all the time. Different areas behave differently in different parts of the year. And if you're a home seller and you're interested in learning more about that, you reach out to me and I'll walk you through that and what that means for you in your particular area. But the reality is that the seasonality is going to become even more of something to pay attention to as we go into this post-corona environment. Because right now, all we know is what is going to happen until May 1st, right? Or May 3rd, or whenever that date is. And then post-corona, right? Post-shelter in place, what does that look like? Does the economy bounce back? Does the housing market stay in, does the economy bounce back, and the economy, or the housing market react positively to it? Does the economy continue to tank, and that puts more pressure on Silicon Valley homeowners that are cash strapped to sell their home and offload that asset to recapture some of the cash that they need, right? These are all conversations that, truthfully, we don't have the answer to, and we won't know. But all we can do is continue to stay up to date and continue to make the decisions that's best for you and for your family. And so I wish all of you a safe, healthy, prosperous week. Stay inside. Do all of us a favor. The sooner that the more we all stay inside, the sooner we're going to be rid of all this thing, right? So at least that's what I'm hoping. So stay inside, stay safe, stay healthy, everyone. And as always, I'm here to bring you the latest, up-to-date Silicon Valley real estate market analysis. This is Danny Gould with the Selling Silicon Valley Group, and I'll catch all of you in the next video.